your lines for the moment. Welcome, welcome. I'm Teresa Chapman here with Slingshot Connections, Connected Conversations by Slingshot Connections. And we wanted to welcome you. Thank you so much. Connected Conversations was launched to create a forum for us to connect with you, to share information, trends, resources. A lot of what we are sharing every week comes from our very own talent agents, also known as recruiters, but we love to call ourselves talent agents because we really do believe we are the agents for the talent that we serve and our clients. And so we actually are sharing trends, resources, tips coming from our talent agents, our job seekers, our associates, our clients, and just really whatever is happening in the world of work at this time. So every Thursday we bring the most freshest topics that are coming on, that are on our minds or that have been coming up as a trend. We usually share tips and resources. So we welcome you to continue joining us every Thursday at 1 o'clock. And we also find this as an organic way for you to be able to utilize the tools that are here before you. So Zoom, we were just talking about the chat rooms and the different ways to use Zoom. Nowadays, everyone's meeting, whether it's professionally or personally, on these types of forums, whether they're individually or having group interviews, utilizing Zoom, Skype, FaceTime, WebEx, all those fun things. So you're welcome to try them out and use the chat box to communicate with us. We'll do our best. We have a very large crowd here and we're very excited to have each and every one of you. So we'll try to get to every question and catch all the chats that are happening in the chat box. And so before we get started and introduce a great guest speaker, Sandra Clark, I wanted to talk a little bit about LinkedIn and how this all came about. So every week, you guys probably are aware that we do receive the reports of how many folks have applied for unemployment and how many have joined the United States in unemployment, right? So just this week alone, we have 3.8 million more people that have joined the area of unemployment and have applied. So that brings us to over 30 million people within the US that are unemployed right now, job seeking, sheltering in place, and all of the above, right? And so that's pretty much 1 in 6 of us that are unemployed or maybe displaced or furloughed and that type of thing, right? So the LinkedIn topic came up because we started talking about that. And personally, I started seeing, I'm always in LinkedIn, but I've noticed myself a lot more activity, a lot more views, a lot more engagement, a lot more conversation. So when this opportunity came that Sandra could come and speak with us, we jumped on it and we were really excited to share it with everyone within our network. So again, we're happy that you're here. We're going to go ahead and kind of share a little bit about LinkedIn. So some of you are familiar with it and how powerful it is for just networking, job seeking, and sharing information. It's supposed to be an easy, user-friendly tool, but it can get overwhelming. And so sometimes you don't know if you're positioning your brand well. Am I coming across well? Am I posting enough? Am I sharing the right things? And so we are really excited to have Sandra come and talk to you guys about tips on how to maximize your LinkedIn profile and how to engage within, right? So speaking of connections, I have to say that I had the pleasure of speaking with Sandra one-to-one. Tiffany on our team, who is on the screen, you might be able to see her there. Tiffany was sharing when we were talking about LinkedIn. I went to this great workshop, her name was Sandra, and she was raving about the experience and those that attended with her. Then Tiffany connected me to Sandra and we spoke on the phone. And she was just such a warm breath of fresh air. She was very happy to help. She has a lot of resources that you're going to hear about today that you can utilize and reference. And so I felt that same experience, and it reminded me of the importance of our LinkedIn and that persona and brand. So then when I looked at Sandra's LinkedIn, her personality matched her LinkedIn and her persona, and everything kind of blended together. And so we hope you guys get that same experience today. She's trained in communications, social media, and has an educational background. She's also done a lot of talks within the Silicon Valley. She was a director of communications for UCSC Extension in Silicon Valley, and now leads successful businesses and professionals to maximize their LinkedIn profile and a lot of other mentoring. So without further ado, I would love to turn the screens over to Sandra, and I'll make sure to watch the chat for you and share any of your questions. Please keep them coming in on the chat box so we can get those ready for her.
Thank you. And did you want to mention about the prizes?
Oh, yes, I was going to do that at the very end, but I'm happy to mention she has been very gracious of giving out 15-minute sessions. We have a few of those to give away for her to give a one-on-one assessment of your LinkedIn and conversation with you directly. So we'll announce those on our social media platforms to announce the winners for those. Thank you again, Sandra, for that.
Okay, well, great. So nice to meet you all. I've done a lot of webinars, but not one with so many people. So I can't sort of necessarily talk to you all, but please do share your questions and we'll get to them probably at the end. But do put them in when you think about them, because otherwise you'll get to the end and you forget about it. So I am going to give you some resources today. It's, you know, we're going to talk for 15, 20 minutes or so, and then questions. And it may be that some of you will be interested in working with me, but maybe for some of you, many of you, it's not in your budget right now. But there are lots of resources I have on my website, linkedinmentoring.com. I have all kinds of blogs, articles, and you can search by topic, by different sections of LinkedIn, even things like my specialty, which is social media for the socially reluctant. And a lot of people are feeling awkward about putting themselves out there online. So that's a resource for you. I have a YouTube channel where I have little 2-minute videos about everything, about different tips of using LinkedIn. So lots of resources, so something for everyone. Hope I can help you in some way. So my typical clients, I mention those because sometimes people think, gee, I'm smart. I should be able to figure out this LinkedIn stuff. Well, if you want to spend all your time doing this, you absolutely can. So for the most part, I work with busy, smart professionals who are busy doing their job. And they come and work with me for a couple of hours so that we can get this LinkedIn stuff done quickly, efficiently, and they can go back to doing what they love to do. And it's been interesting, that social media for the socially reluctant thing. I came up with that thinking it was more age-based, like maybe those of us were a little older, a little more uncomfortable with this whole social media thing. But it turns out it's most people, all those engineers, all those people. Let me just work in front of my computer. Don't make me put myself out there. But you can't do that. You've got to brand yourself really from high school onward. They should have a class in high school, branding 101, because you're going to have to do that throughout your professional life. And then when situations come up, you're always going to have people offering you jobs before you even need to look. So I like to mention that. Now, this is an honor system evaluation here because I can't see your profile, so we'll be looking later. So thinking about your own profile on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being, I think I remember my password, I'm not sure, haven't been in it for a long time, through to 5, which is, dang, I think I'm pretty good. I don't think this lady probably has much to teach me, but I thought I'd check in and see if there was any new tip I could get. 3, somewhere in the middle there, and you can put that in the chat box if you want, where you think your profile is. And sometimes, a lot of times people will say, oh, I'm a 1, I'm terrible. And you know, they're really not that bad. And I have other people who would say, well, they put their hands up when I'm doing this in person, they say they're a 5, and I look them straight in the eye and say, you know, I'm going to be looking, don't you? And the hand goes down. There's always something new to learn. I'm constantly learning. LinkedIn made a major change just last month. And now I'm having to go back to all my clients to say, oh, everything I taught you is still pretty good, but now we've got to make this change. So I'm curious, are people putting in their scores?
Yes, they are.
Okay, good. I see a lot of people who look like they're being pretty honest too. So I'm going to start with some kind of overview, basic things with LinkedIn, and then kind of go into some specifics. So there should be something for those of you who are really quite new to it, And those of you who are a little more advanced, I try to have something for everybody. And so I'm going to be talking about a great profile, attracting attention, and the power of connecting. That is the magic and the wonder of LinkedIn. My daughter's company, until this downturn, had a goal this year of 40% of their new hires being referrals from employees. That's huge. So the people you know really matters. Again, just think to yourself, you can put it in the chat room if you want, what you think the biggest mistake about using LinkedIn is. Really basic, but the biggest mistake you can possibly think of. Go ahead and put that in. Any ideas? Anybody willing to say what they think it is? Too much information? Okay, yeah, usually the opposite. Not connecting. Okay, not putting your picture. Okay.
We talked about that earlier. We're going to bring that up, right? Later.
Okay, well, we're going really basic here. No LinkedIn profile at all. In Silicon Valley especially, if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, it's almost like you don't exist. I go to a networking event, I meet you, I get your business card, I come back and I look you up on LinkedIn. If I can't find you there, I don't even know what to do with the card. Maybe if it's a service professional, a plumber, electrician or something, I might put it in my little card file, but otherwise I put that card, I'm too nice to put it directly into the circular file. It goes into a pretty basket first, and then a few months later, it goes into the garbage because I don't know what to do with that card. You've got to have a profile. So if you're anxious about it, you think, I'm not sure, I don't want to be out there public. Sorry, you just got to do it nowadays, or you just don't exist. People can't find you. They can't refer you. You might say, maybe you've got your own business and you've got a website. I don't refer people to people's websites. I refer them to their LinkedIn profile because that's kind of where I really get to learn about them. So there are over 500 million users worldwide using LinkedIn now. That's like 2 new users per second. There are so many people, it's just huge. And those are all opportunities for job seekers, for people looking to hire you. And even if you're starting your own business, incredible potential. A lot of those people nowadays are using the mobile. So although I'm not going to particularly address the mobile today, be aware that things look different on the mobile. So you need to, I like to use the desktop primarily, but do take a look and see how things are looking on the mobile. There are also some very cool things you can do on your phone that you can't do on desktop. Too advanced topic for today, but LinkedIn is coming out with new things all the time. It's sort of, remember when things were simple? And if you're old enough to remember the simple early days where you just put basic information up there and it was so easy? Well, they keep adding things now and adding things, trying to keep their people employed, I guess, and keep us entertained. And it's made it actually harder to use. So sometimes people say to me, oh, I've never got a job through LinkedIn, or I've never got a business opportunity or a lead. And so I say to you, how many jobs or opportunities have you lost through LinkedIn? And they'll say, no, I don't know. That's my point. You don't know what you're losing because people are looking. And if they don't like what they see, they just move right along. It's a bit like those of you who use Tinder or some other dating app. I don't, of course, happily married 36 years, but I know about these things from my kids. And you want to have enough information to get them to swipe right and not just swipe left and ignore you. So you've got to be there, whether you like it or not. So here is my magical mystery formula for LinkedIn success, the basic components. You need to have it complete. If you've ever noticed LinkedIn pops up something that says you're an all-star, that essentially means you've got all the basic sections complete. Don't get too proud of yourself. It does not mean it's good. It only means it's complete. You need to have your keywords in there, and you should know your keywords for your industry, for your type of work. Those keywords need to be in a number of different places. The LinkedIn algorithm changes all the time, but in general, those keywords should be in your headline, in your job title and or job description, in your about section and in your skills section. There are some other places, but you want to have them in a number of places. You show up more in searches. You need to have a certain number of connections. I'm going to talk exactly how many I think you should have a little later. So some of these I'll go into detail about, and some we'll just go by. You need, if possible, you need to be active on LinkedIn. Active is anything you do. Actually, logging onto LinkedIn counts as activity. Liking, commenting, sharing, connecting, all of that counts as activity. And the more you do of that, the more, well, it's a win-win. We might blame the algorithm, but the algorithm is built on people's behavior. So the more you're active on LinkedIn, the more you're inclined to show up. So my name, Sandra Clark, it's awfully common. There's, I know, a couple of thousand of me on LinkedIn. But in general, if you put Sandra Clark in the search bar at the top, I'll come up as one of the top 6 suggested Sandra Clarks. Anywhere in the world that you do that, because the algorithm says, hey, you're looking for a Sandra Clark, really good chance you're looking for this crazy lady because she's active on LinkedIn. So it's worth doing. All of those things together give you maximum visibility and high search engine optimization ranking. Now that SEO is specific to LinkedIn. It's not Google, but Google pulls up LinkedIn profiles as one of the top searches when you look for someone by name. So it does have implications there. So you want to show up, you want to be seen. Now, these are the basic components of a profile that you need to have. There are all kinds of other things you can add on to LinkedIn. You know, you can add your portfolio, you can add certifications, so many things. But in general, you've got to have a photo. I'm going to talk more about that in a minute. You need a professional headline. And I'm going to talk about that too, because it says headline, it does not say job title. You need to have a summary. It's now called your about section. I need to change that slide too. I was updating slides until about 15 minutes before this because LinkedIn keep making changes and they like to change the names of things. Your job history. You need your education there, your skills, and you also want your contact info. That's something you need to be careful about keeping updated. Sometimes people forget, maybe they've used a work email as their main one on LinkedIn, and that's the one that's still showing. And you need to have connections. So those basic things together pull it together. So people want to refer you, make it easy. Sometimes I meet people, I really like them, I'd like to refer them. I look at their LinkedIn profile, and it doesn't even have what they're currently doing on their profile. And I feel I can't, because I like to refer people by giving someone the LinkedIn URL, and I find like I can't do that. So I'll contact them, maybe say, maybe you want to add what you do onto your profile so I can refer you. But people want to make it easy for them. So I'm going to talk about some of the specifics that I mentioned earlier. Now your headline, that's what appears right under your name. It's your mini ad. Now, most of you are probably not in marketing, but I'm sorry, you all need to be in marketing when it concerns your own brand. This is your headline right under your picture. Now, my job title, if you like, might be owner at LinkedIn Mentoring, consultant, trainer, at least those are key words. But you can put up to 120 characters in your headline. This is actually a little less than 120 characters because I didn't like it when it rolled over into the second line. Those little stars, I just add for some fun. You can copy them. It's called Unicode, but you don't need those. I just tried to make my profile look a little more exciting. So you've got keywords, LinkedIn training, consulting, profile optimizer, speaker. All of those things are the things I do. Now, if you're a job seeker, I'm going to talk about some other examples for you in a minute. Let's see what we got here. How do you want to be seen? This is about you. Okay. For some of you right now, it might be unemployed at self. LinkedIn added in a category where you can put self-employed, full-time employee, contractor. I recommend leaving that blank. They added it in. I don't think it adds anything. And if you allow LinkedIn to put your job title, you end up with really horrible headlines. Self-employed at nowhere. I'm sort of making fun a little bit here. But owner of XYZ Consulting, who cares? It tells me nothing. This is a waste of that space. Now, yes, this is the effect it has on me. Now, the same thing would be, for example, if you're a project manager and you had project manager at XYZ, project manager at Google. Well, project manager at Google, at least it's kind of a cool company, but you can be so much more than that. Tell me more about what kind of project manager you are, the expertise you have. And tell me who you can be. This is how you want to be seen. Maybe right now you're working part-time at Home Depot to get some money in. That's okay. That's not who you are. That just happens to be what you're doing. This is how you want to be seen. You're senior manager in digital marketing. This is what you're going to do. It's client facing, what you're going to do for me, your potential employer. You're going to grow revenues. You're going to win customers. You're going to increase market share. You're a project manager. You're a CMS expert and consultant, a technical trainer. All keywords, these are actually all well under 120 characters. You've got plenty of space. Those pipes, by the way, all of these things, I'll take away my little jumping up and down with excitement, but just again, some keywords and what it is that you are going to do for your potential, in your case, if you're looking for work, your potential employer. Once you're employed, maybe it's your potential clients. So all of those things I can get a little excited about now. I can jump up and down and want to ask for your resume, want to interview you, want to hire you. Sure.
Sandra, actually, this is a perfect time if I could just add as well. Thank you to everyone that's called in and joined in. Sandra was kind enough to share her slides. So I'll make sure that that gets to those that would like it. So thank you for that, Sandra. I wanted to just mention that. And also, I neglected to mention, but I think a lot of you can see that this is being recorded. Our Connected Conversations conversation is being recorded due to the information that's being shared and the audience that would like to receive the information. So I just wanted to put that clause out there, as well as let everyone know that we will be sharing the slides.
Great. Thank you for interrupting me. If you don't interrupt me, I'll just keep going on.
I know, I'm passionate too. I can go on and on as well.
So here we're getting to some more specifics. Your about section, you've got 2,600 characters to work with, but we only see the first 3 lines until you click on see more. And you need to give us enough in those first 3 lines to make us want to see more. Now this looks like more than 3 lines because I did it in a bigger font, but this is actually just the first 3 lines of my profile. And so this is my formula. So I'm gonna show my formula and then describe it. So something compelling, intriguing. I specialize in social media for the socially reluctant. That's my attempt to be intriguing. What I'm going to do for you, I'm going to help you transform your LinkedIn profile to get results. My call to action, contact me to discuss how I can help you shine on LinkedIn, and my contact info. I've got it right there. I want to make it really easy for people to contact me. Even if they don't know to click on the contact info, I want it right in their face there. And as a job seeker, you might want to consider doing this too. This, you know, maybe you do, maybe you don't. That's a sort of judgment call. So these are some tips of added things you can do. You can add images and other rich media. You can add a background banner, this new featured section. I'll show you an example of that in a moment. If you've got videos, articles, if you've ever written a post or an article, if you've got links to things, go ahead. There's places to do that now. Now the banner is what shows behind your profile. It's free, it's easy. Why would you not do that? You can add something related to your brand. Obviously for me, I've got something branded to what I do. If you could have something geographic based, San Francisco Bay Bridge, you could have a beautiful picture of scenery, something that you feel communicates what you're like. I had an executive the other day and she wanted a big, beautiful rose as her banner. And it kind of showed like the softer side of her. So do something, add a little pizzazz. Another thing, this 3 lines show, again, you need to make people want to open and see more. Now, sometimes people think that, well, I only need to write 3 lines. No, this is your chance to tell your story. your elevator pitch. Don't waste it. It's a great opportunity to talk about yourself. It's really the only place in your profile that you can talk about all the things you can do for your potential connection employer. This new featured section, very prominent. You can add posts, video, all kinds of things. That's kind of an advanced thing. And this new featured section is brand new, just added last month. There may be a few people who don't have it yet, although I think I was one of the last. Being a LinkedIn trainer does not guarantee you'll be one of the first people to get things, but add some pizzazz. This is also new. You could, in the past, you could, in the background of LinkedIn, you could say to recruiters that you were looking, you were open for new opportunities. And most of the time, people didn't necessarily want to advertise or have people see that they were looking, but right now there's so many people looking, we maybe don't need to be so shy about it. And you can make this public. Now, in my case, I'm not really looking for a job, but I've kind of cheated and I've used the job opportunities partly so that I can show clients what it looks like, and partly because I am available as a guest speaker, as an online consultant, training specialist, and coach. So that can be right on your profile now, fully visible. There's a little, if you've ever added the information for recruiters to see, there's like a little eyeball, and you can click on that and make it visible to everybody on LinkedIn. So take advantage. The size of your network matters. And so there's a few reasons for this. If you have less than 100 connections, hopefully there's nobody here with that, but maybe there are. That's only 5% of the LinkedIn population that can see you, find you. Now, 5% of 500 million is still a lot, but the magic starts to happen when you've got more than 500. And with 500, you're essentially visible to almost everyone. Now, the number of connections you should have individually. I recommend that people have at least 30 connections for every year of their age. Every year of your age. So I will let you do your own math. I will, usually if I'm seeing people in person, I can see the eyes grow wide as they panic and they calculate just how many that is. And it's okay. You don't have to be there immediately. But when you think about it, you meet 30 people professionally a year. Why would you not add them on LinkedIn? That's where the power starts to go. Now, who do you connect to? I recommend, sometimes people say, oh, I only connect to people I know really well. I don't know about you, but that would be maybe 30 people. Oh, people I've worked with or I've known professionally, maybe that would be another 100. But I recommend you connect to people you know, people you'd like to know, and people who know people you'd like to know. So for example, I'm connected to a lot of administrative assistants because I've done some speaking engagements for their associations. Now, they're not particularly my target client, but guess what? Because of them, I'm only 2 degrees away from half the execs and CEOs in Silicon Valley. Not too shabby. When I go to look at almost any company in the Valley, I know somebody who knows somebody that works there. Those are great connections. So open up maybe a little wider than you feel comfortable with. It does not meet everyone. I'm still picky. For someone in my line of business, my network of about 5,000 is actually considered quite small. But I do that deliberately because I want to make it about really actually getting to know people. And I pretty much know how I'm connected to those 5,000, getting harder. So increase your visibility, do stuff on LinkedIn. What can you do? You can connect with people. You can also do things like engage with people. You can like, comment, or share. That makes you visible both to the person whose thing you've commented on, and also the algorithm sees that you're active, makes you more visible. Congratulating people, that's pretty low risk, isn't it? That's private, behind the scenes. Nobody even sees you've done it. Congratulating someone on a new job, that's maybe going to remind them about you, and they say, oh, you've just started a job there. You know what? We're hiring like crazy. Are you interested? Great opportunity. Do take advantage. Comment on people's posts. Don't be afraid. Make an offer to help. I don't always, the people I connect to, they may not need LinkedIn help, but they might need some other kind of help. Maybe I have a connection that I can introduce them to. So do all these things will really help you. And don't forget to take it offline. It doesn't have to be all online. You can call or plan an in-person meeting. If LinkedIn pops up a birthday message and the person is a close friend, I might not say happy birthday on LinkedIn. I pick up the phone, I text. So don't discount the in-person stuff. So I got still hopefully time for questions. I think I went a little over where I was going, but I just have so much information I want to give you. And I was cutting down until last moment. If you would like to receive my twice monthly e-newsletter with LinkedIn tips, it's on my website, linkedinmentoring.com/receive-newsletter. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. My website, as I said, has all kinds of articles. You can search those articles by summary, by headline, by like re-entering the workforce, different topics. My YouTube channel, LinkedInMentoring.com, also has quick little 2-minute videos that might help you about specific topics. So please let me be a resource to you and let me help you. And I hope there are some questions there.
Yes, we do have some questions for you, Sandra. Thank you for that. Thank you so much. And again, for all of us that use it at different levels, you learn something new each time you hear it, use it, just like as in with Zoom or anything else, right? So thank you for your graciousness and for sharing so much information with us. Some of the questions that came in, someone requests to connect, but you don't know them. What were your thoughts on that?
Again, I would think it sort of comes back to my thing of people you know, people you'd like to know, people who know people you'd like to know. So in general, I would say, look at their profile. Do they look respectable, professional? Is there a reason not to connect with them? Now, if they look sleazy, salesy or something, then don't. Or if you connect and then the first thing they're doing is trying to sell you something, just disconnect with them right away. You know, it's like, I like people to get to know me before they try to pitch me on something. But make it a little more, just take where your comfort level is and just push yourself a little beyond and see how that works out.
So your note is also then to take the time to get to know that connection and see where there might be helpful use of that, of having that connection, right? Another question that came in is, can you put links to your own sites in your profile or connect to websites? I think you did cover that in one of your slides. So you weren't opposed to them pointing to websites or their work that they've done.
There's a couple of places where it's a little weird, like you can put it in that new featured section. That's a great place to put it. If you put it in your about section or your experience, it will not on the desktop be hyperlinked, but on the phone it will be, go figure. And you can also put it in your contact information at the top. There's a place right in there for your website, up to 3 websites.
Okay, oh, thank you for that, Sandra. Another question that came in was, how far back on employment history would you recommend?
Okay, well, don't you hate this answer? It depends. And part of that is in Silicon Valley, in particular in the tech industry, generally it's sort of said we don't go back more than 10 years. Like, who cares longer ago than that? You used to be able to do Fortran and Perl or different types of programming. Who cares anymore? But it may be that there's something in that background that is important. So it depends a little on your industry. I work a lot with CFOs. And CFOs love showing their 40 years of history because it shows they have seen every upturn and downturn. They've been through it all. They get it. They understand it. And that's what they're bringing to the table. So I wouldn't say there's not an arbitrary number. It's going to depend on your industry. Maybe you want to show that you used to work for this prestigious company and it was 20 years back. It could be worth including for that reason. So it's kind of a judgment call. And there is ageism in hiring, absolutely. So sometimes it might be that you might remove it from your job history and reference it in your about section, saying previous employment included, and mention it there. It doesn't have quite the same panache, but it's a sort of a cheap way around it.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Sandra. We recommend the same when it comes to a resume for that very same point you just made. So thank you, that relates in that. One of the comments was, Sandra is awesome. We agree, we agree.
Thank you.
How does Lion help your LinkedIn?
Lion means LinkedIn Open Networker. It means basically you will accept everyone. I'm sorry, but the way I describe this, very politically incorrect, I'm sorry, but my husband told me, I once said this, I have to believe it's true, that he says, it means you're a whore on LinkedIn. We'll sleep with anyone. And I said, I didn't say that, did I? He swears I did. But I do not recommend that you use the words lion. It means that you'll accept everyone. You're not discriminating. You don't care. Being open to accepting and connecting with people without necessarily saying that, but using some discretion, yes, but not actually advertising yourself as a lion. And if you connect with a lion who advertises their lion, you're potentially contaminating your network. So it's a bit like, who they've slept with means, I'm using very bad analogies here. Stop me.
But I see what you're saying, because we've heard different thoughts and views about a lion being a good thing or not so good thing. But so thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
And the analogy works.
Everything on LinkedIn is personal opinion. If you're in sales, for example, you're going to connect a lot more widely than someone who's an executive in a company. So it's going to say it depends, but I'm not a fan of lions.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. What impression does one have if only at a company? Oh, if you're only at a company for, let's say, 10 years, just one company for 10 years.
It's good if you've been in a couple of different positions in that company, because it shows that you were promoted. If you truly were at one company, one time with one job title, even then it's good if you can break it up. Maybe you had some different responsibilities. It shows growth. Otherwise, it used to be, it was like if you were a job hopper and you showed all these different companies and you weren't anywhere more than a year or two, that was a bad thing. And now, isn't it sad that we're kind of saying you stayed one place for that long time? But it is good if you can show some progression within that.
So variety in that time. Okay, great. That's a good point too. So suggestion on what all to include for job details. I find it hard narrowing down what skills or job functions to best highlight in previous positions to show or what I've done in my work history.
This is one of those things that this is very much my opinion. It's the opinion of some other people too, but in general, if you have everything on your LinkedIn profile, recruiters love it, because what they do is they go scrape all the data and they go, nah, not right, move on. They don't even give you a chance to customize it to them. So in general, I recommend people to have enough information, that whole equivalent of getting people, recruiters, hiring managers, to want to swipe right, to learn more. That then is going to allow you to customize that resume, to do a customized cover letter, to point out how what you've done in the past applies to what they're doing. So you want to pick out a few key things for each job position. Usually the further back you go, the less you include, unless it was a long time and you had a lot of experience there. But just picking up the right things is tricky, but I would not include everything, because if everything's there, nobody needs to, I remember—
We're not leaving that opportunity for a call, right? A call back, right, or a connection. Correct.
I remember years ago having someone come to interview, and what was on their LinkedIn was the same thing that was on the resume, and it was also all they had to say in the interview. So It's like, I want incrementally more.
Right, to get to know you more. Okay. One of the other questions that was mentioned here, and you kind of mentioned this a little bit about the Sandra Clark name. So this person saying, there's a lot of people with the same name as me. What could I do to separate myself from others?
Okay, well, activity is huge. The headline is huge, because if you're active and you're doing things, your name and your headline is going to show. So it's going to be Tom Smith, project manager. I can't think of something off the top of my head. It's going to have your expertise listed right there. If you have a name that's very hard to pronounce, that's another thing.
I was going to ask that too. Okay, great.
There's a couple things. One, in your about section, at the very bottom of it, not showing at the top, but at the bottom, you might put also common misspellings. And you might put the phonetic spelling. LinkedIn is testing a new thing where you'll be able to actually say how to pronounce your name. It's brand new. I don't have it yet. I actually don't know anybody who has it. I just, there's LinkedIn trainers. We stay in touch and try and help each other. So that will be something. But in the meantime, I would say, go ahead and at the bottom of your about section, put the phonetic spelling. And also common misspellings. LinkedIn is pretty smart at finding, like, it knows that Alexandra, Alex, Sandra, Sandy are all variations. It is not smart about knowing different spellings of certain names, particularly foreign names. It hasn't got the hang of that.
Great, perfect. I have more questions coming for you too here, Sandra. One of them, and I also have some from our talent agents that they shared from job seekers and those that they're working with. So I have those with me too. One was asking again about having a photo. I know that you kind of mentioned that a little bit, and or the one that you were saying this was their photo from, you know,
Right.
20 years ago or
Thank
5
you.
years
I'm
ago.
so sorry. I must have, when I was trying to cut my slides down, I must have cut that out, or maybe I was going to replace it and I didn't. Bad me. Oh, yes, I do a big thing about, yes, you must have a photo. And it should be no more than 2 to 3 years old. And in general, I say it should look like you. It should look like you on a good day, but not your best day, not your wedding day, not your kid's wedding day. I'm sorry, you are never going to look like that again. I want to go into a meeting and go up to you and say, hi, nice to meet you, Kathy Smith, and not go, I'm trying to meet Kathy. You know, I don't know, I don't see her here. You know, it doesn't do you well to have this really great photo that, you know, I'm okay with 5 years, 10 pounds, but I see a lot of 10 years, 40 pounds. And I'm sorry, I just think that's embarrassing when you go into an in-person meeting. So
Be yourself, right?
Get over yourself. We just want to see that warm, trustworthy smile. Look like we're reaching across the desk to shake your hand, even though it's a picture on the screen. So thank you for reminding me. And my bad.
And it was a great question that was also asked in the chat box. Another one was, can I leave my resume off my profile without hurting my chances?
I don't recommend that you have your profile. If they're talking about having it as an attachment, I do not recommend doing that because that's not giving you the opportunity to customize it. So in general, that's not considered good for anybody to do. That shouldn't harm you. Have enough information, good keywords, good experience, good recommendations. I didn't talk about recommendations and endorsements here, not enough, but you know, all of that really adds to what's called your social proof. That you are who you say you are, you've got that background. And if you have no recommendations and you're a professional in mid-career, it's kind of sad. It's embarrassing as you get more senior to ask. So you should really be asking for recommendations throughout your career.
That was one of the questions that one of our talent agents submitted as well on behalf of some job seekers. They've been speaking to Sandra was the amount of endorsements or how old those should be, or you know, how frequently should they be updating that?
Okay. And endorsements or recommendations are quite different. Endorsements are like a little bit Mickey Mouse, but you know, it's like attaboy. You know, so you know, having them, giving them is easy. It's too easy. But it's good to have. It helps a little bit with the search. But recommendations, when recruiters who have the LinkedIn Recruiter tool, when they get applications, they get, I think they don't get what their recommendations are, they just get how many recommendations. And recommendations are meaningful because a person who's recommended you, they put their picture there, their headline, it's hyperlinked. We can see who they actually are. They're putting their reputations on their line to recommend you. So those are hugely valuable. I recommend people have at least one per year. You know, if you're in business like me, you're gonna, you know, collect a few more. But yeah, you know, you're gonna collect them throughout your career. And sometimes people say, well, people will think I'm looking for another job. Realistically, we should always be looking for other jobs, but collect them when somebody says, great job on that project. Say, thank you, would you mind doing a recommendation on LinkedIn? You go, oh, why are you planning on leaving? It's like, no, not right now, but I want to catch you when you're saying something good about me.
Mm-hmm. And that's a great recommendation, Sandra, to just consistently be doing that. So then that way, for those that want to be more passive, you're not alerting anyone, you're just continuously doing it and it's staying fresh. So that's a great point around that other challenge, right? Now, this one is a great question that was shared. Been unemployed for a short time due to the pandemic. What's the best way to showcase that time, that gap?
Okay. This is going to be a whole new world this year. because there are going to be a lot of people with those gaps. And I don't think we're going to view them in the same way that we might have in the past. There are a couple of things you can do. One is to just have the ending date of the last thing and have it blank. But you can also, you can put in, as if it was experience, you put in like a job title and the job title of the type of title you would be applying for. And I keep using the project manager as an example because it's stuck in my brain. But you put in job title, you know, project manager, and you put in the name of the company as Sandra Clark Project Management Consulting. I know, something, you're not trying to pretend that you have a full-time job, but that will allow you to put in that description the kind of work you could do as a project manager. It's a little hard to just explain. I don't know if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. But that will allow you to kind of show the things you can do. If you're doing training, going back to school, taking online classes, put that information in, show that you're using that time to do something. Now, the reality is some people are simply surviving during this time. They're homeschooling their kids. They're taking care of elderly parents. And, you know, I think we're going to have to figure out what to put. I mean, in the past, there were always people who had job gaps. And usually it was like reference it and move on. Or talk about the skills you learned from, you know, managing an elderly parent's home care, food, medical, doctors, the project management involved, the fact that you could multitask, becoming a stay-at-home teacher for your kids. Those are all skills that we're gonna, sometime when people stop crying about it, they're gonna be able to say, wow, I was amazing, that was an incredible experience. So I think the rules are changing right now. You know, just put in, you know, the reality. You can sort of put, you know, I'm available for work in this field, you know, currently unemployed due to COVID-19 crisis. Mm-hmm. That's going to be so many people. And I will have better advice when we start to see what people do with that.
Right. Yes. And we'll be in touch with you to get your advice on that when that time comes as well. And I would say for those listening, that same advice likely to show, Sandra would likely say for the volunteer question, like, where do I put my volunteer work that I'm doing at this time? So just making sure that you're also including it, as Sandra was saying.
Right. And there is a place on LinkedIn to put your volunteer work. Do put that there. There is the option when you have a job gap of possibly putting it in to that kind of filler section.
Perfect. Oh, the best way to showcase certifications and classes. A lot of our job seekers that we're working with right now are working on certifications and taking LinkedIn courses and different things like that. Where do you recommend they showcase that?
Well, there's a place on LinkedIn to put them under the add profile section. There's a section you can add with your certifications, your licenses. Sometimes you might want to put them under education, but they have their own place. You may want to highlight them by mentioning it in those first 3 lines of your about section so that it shows prominently that you're updating your skills. But those are the 2 primary places.
Okay, and then I'll ask one last question, Sandra, and then I'll start wrapping us up. I want to thank everybody for their attention. We have quite a few participants that have stayed with us the whole time, and we take that as an absolute compliment. Thank you so much. That also tells us that you enjoyed our speaker today, and that tells Sandra right here and now her grade for her survey today. So thank you all for joining Connected Conversations. I'll share a little bit more about how you can continue to stay connected, as well as our next guest speaker that will be coming up next week. One of the last questions was, you mentioned a lot of ways to have good activity. Sandra, what are some of your thoughts or tips on very bad activity, or please don't do this?
2 things come to mind. One is, if you see something on LinkedIn and you don't like it and you disagree with it, don't comment on it. Commenting on it actually spreads it further, and it shows prominently on your profile page. So sometimes it's really hard. You have to just step away from the keyboard. Don't do it. The more superficial things, you know, updates, what you're eating, where you've gone, that kind of thing that belongs on Facebook. It really doesn't, unless your industry is related, it doesn't belong on LinkedIn. In general, I recommend keep maybe a little bit, not totally professional. You can be talking about the challenges of homeschooling. I think there's a lot of content about that. We're all sharing the pain. But yeah, be careful of the really superficial, of the what you're eating. We just don't want to see that on LinkedIn, and being careful not to like or comment or say anything about something that you don't like.
That makes total
No
sense.
political, no religion.
Thank you for that. And well, we actually want to thank you again. And also for those that might have called in just a little bit later, we have recorded the session. We also have the slides available that we'll be emailing. If you are interested in the slides or getting more information about job opportunities, or are connecting with us directly here at Slingshot Connections, staff@slingshotconnections.com is our alias. Our connected conversations happen every Thursday at 1 o'clock. And we're so thankful that Sandra came to be one of our guests with a great attendance today. And also next week, we're going to be having Police Chief Eddie Garcia joining us at 1 o'clock on May 7th. And he'll be sharing more information about COVID-19 and how it's affected our city of San Jose, what we can do to stay safe, and opportunities and involvement with our community and job opportunities as well. We do have quite a few hot jobs that we're willing to share for those that are truly interested in looking for work right now. We understand some of you are just kind of fishing around to see what's out there for us during shelter in place, or what essential businesses are hiring. We're here to deliver news for you and to stay connected. We appreciate all of our community partners that have also joined, and our customers, our clients. I've seen a few of you log in as well, and we thank you all for your support. Slingshot Connections is open, and we are here and available to you. Again, it's staff@slingshotconnections.com, and Connected Conversations is a forum for us to meet every Thursday at 1 o'clock. So thank you again. Thank you, Sandra, so much. And we'll be letting everyone know who the lucky winners of the free 15-minute one-on-one session with Sandra on LinkedIn. Thank you so much.
Bye.
All right, if there's anyone else left on the line that has questions or would like to talk to me or my team one-on-one, please do hit the chat box there and let us know, or give our office a call at 408-247-8233. Thank you again, and happy Thursday to everyone. We hope that you found this very helpful and resourceful for you, and that we'll see you back again next Thursday. Thank you. All right, go ahead and leave.